streaming worldwide at KELPradio.com.
915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can visit desertvoice.media to learn more.
915 TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
This is the radio program that never ends. It keeps on going on and on, my friends. Some people started at not knowing what it was. This is episode 240.
Wow.
Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. This is 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecca. And you know what, Mac Daddy Del Norte, you know what I'm thinking about today?
No, I don't know what you're thinking.
I'm thinking about how many worship bands you're on. Is it 7 or 8?
Yeah, right. No, it's less than that.
Okay. Half
only,
a dozen?
No, it's only 3.
Only 3. But then you're called into some others from time to time.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And you love creating good sound.
Definitely.
But have you ever been like up on stage and like you're jamming and things are going good and you play the electric guitar?
Yes.
Sometimes when you're playing electric guitar, it's a little bit hard for everyone to focus because you're playing so good. They're not thinking. But then have you ever been doing that and then there's the sound of feedback?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's it sound like? What's it sound like?
Man, feedback in this particular example is not a good thing.
Oh.
Because it's disturbing. It's messing with your
It's like a screeching
performance.
or humming sound?
Yeah, like a humming, high-pitched.
Yeah. Why does it happen?
It just depends. In my case, if I'm playing guitar and I'm too close to an amplifier, the pickups from a guitar will feedback through the amp and back out. So it creates this cycle, which is just creating a feedback.
So feedback,
sound.
you would say, in that context is a negative thing.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about feedback.
Okay.
But not that kind of feedback.
Not that kind of feedback. Okay.
Have you ever been at work at KELP and received feedback from your boss?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah?
Yes.
Is it good feedback?
Yeah, that's a good feedback because that's a verbal feedback.
What's it like to get feedback from the radio station manager at KELP?
Well, if you're doing something wrong, you're just told to do it better or to fix it.
Oh. Is there ever like feedback like you're doing good, or is it all like negative?
No,
like when you're playing your instrument and you get too close to the amplifier.
No, for the most part, it's actually good feedback.
Oh.
Yeah, because I strive to always do a good job.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's right. So we're going to be talking about feedback today, but in an organization, I think it has to do with when you have to really have open conversations with each other. I think that's what it's about. Okay. We're going to find out what it's about. We have a good friend of this program on. She's with C12. C12 is a peer group of Christian business leaders. They're here in the borderland and around the world. She leads here in the borderland and most of New Mexico. Mm-hmm. She's also the host of the 323 podcast.
Yes.
Plays each and every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Learning from local Christian business leaders what they're doing in the marketplace. We need to take our Sunday faith into our Monday workplace. Amen. Mac Daddy on the board?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the big challenges in leadership can be how to give feedback, positive or maybe some constructive criticism.
Yeah.
How to do that in a good way. So we're going to be talking about that today with our very special guest.
Awesome.
So without further ado, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Tiffany Etterling. Tiffany, welcome back.
Thank you, Andy. It's always a pleasure to come.
Were you concerned that I thought feedback was all about music?
I was concerned that intro was very long. So no, it was a great.
It was 3 minutes.
It was a great intro. But no, I thought it was a great tie-in. I wondered where you were going for a minute there, and then I saw it, and I was like, okay, I see what he's doing.
We're just hooking the audience so they stick around.
That's right. That's right.
So it is interesting when you think about feedback. Of course, we were kind of making light of feedback in music when a microphone gets in the wrong place and there's that screeching, or if someone says to you, I need to give you some feedback, it's always a negative, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like when your spouse says, "Hey, can we talk?" Your stomach kind of clenches, and you're like, "Oh, you put your guard up, right?"
Right.
And so, yeah, I think if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I need to give you some feedback," I think our instinct, our human instinct, is to brace ourselves for something bad.
Yeah. Okay. And so, is there positive feedback?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. And one of the things I think we've talked about it together before is so important in feedback is it's like a bank. And when you give positive feedback to someone, it's an investment in that bank. And you are banking up trust with someone when you are giving them truthful feedback.
Okay.
You can't be, saying they're good at things that they're not good at. But when you're investing in that bank, then when you have to have a hard conversation, there's money in that bank. You can make a withdrawal without going into debt in the trust department, which is really bad. You don't want to do that. And so I think that's really the baseline of you have to have a strong relationship built on trust in order to give somebody feedback.
Right. And I know at C12 you have these monthly meetings.
I do.
And you were talking about feedback recently.
Yeah. So our February forum, we spent an entire day together, the members of the C12 forum, and feedback was our curriculum topic, and we spent most of the morning talking about feedback. We started with a devotion based on Proverbs 27:17, which says that. Do you know what it says, Andy?
Proverbs 27:17 says, when you eat honey, eat just enough. Too much? No, I don't know.
It says, iron sharpens iron.
Oh,
so one man sharpens another.
Okay.
And so we spent our morning, looking at a devotional based on Proverbs 27:17, and then we moved into talking about feedback. Now, what might surprise you with a group of leaders, you might think, okay, well, if they're going to talk about feedback, they're probably going to talk about giving feedback to their team. How do we give great feedback?
Right.
That's not what we were talking about. We were talking about how we as leaders receive feedback and how do we put ourselves in places where we can get feedback from the people who are below us, who work next to us, our spouses, all the people in our lives, because we can't go it alone. And the higher you get in an organization, the harder it is to get honest feedback.
Okay. Oh, I think we need to say that again. But it is interesting, this idea when we think about leaders and the whole subject of feedback, it's exactly what you said. We think, we need to learn how to give feedback. But you said you spent a day talking about how to receive feedback.
Yeah, well, first of all, why we need feedback. And that goes back to the iron sharpens iron, right? If in a vacuum, we are not going to get better. If we don't have feedback in our lives, we are not going to grow and improve. And so being in a position where you can get feedback is so important. And that's really what C12 is all about. It's putting a table full of, business leaders together and saying, how can we challenge one another? So it's not all sunshine and roses in a C12 meeting. Sometimes we ask hard questions and sometimes we have to challenge one another. So that's part of iron sharpening iron. But then you talk about your team, and you have to be very intentional as a leader to make sure that you're inviting feedback, because no matter what, I used to always say, I have an open door policy. You can come talk to me anytime. And I found a quote that is from a Star Wars television show, but one of the characters said that...
we made a big jump there from Proverbs to
Star Wars. Well,
yeah.
I found this quote. It was the only person I could find it attributed to. It basically says this, that an open invitation is no invitation at all.
Oh, like we should do lunch sometime.
Yes, that is an open invitation.
Yeah.
And it means it might never happen.
Right.
But if I say, Andy, can you meet for lunch next Tuesday?
Right.
That's intentional.
Yeah.
And then somebody feels like, oh, she cares enough to say a date and a time.
Right.
So this is serious. She really is serious about this.
Right. So just saying I have an open door policy, to your point, is just basically saying my door's not open because I'm busy.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people, particularly the people below you on an organizational chart, they're going to feel intimidated to walk to that door and knock. It takes a lot of guts to go to a manager, a supervisor, a leader, a boss, and say, hey, you said something in our meeting yesterday that it sounded really harsh and unkind, and or man, this policy over here, it's not working, and we as a team are suffering for it. It takes so much guts, and most employees will not do that. You have to bring them into your office and say, I want your feedback.
Mac Daddy Del Norte, I want your feedback. I have an open door. Oh, I have an open mic policy. Is there anything you want to give me feedback on?
No, you're doing such a great job.
Oh,
Andy.
wow. I'm going to suggest that maybe on live radio is not the best place to begin implementing this policy, Andy. I'm just guessing here, but I'm thinking that I can confidently say that.
Okay, so we need to set up specific times and make specific invitations.
Yeah.
Okay, then what?
Then what? We have to be willing to change and be open. So sometimes you have a conversation, and this probably happens a lot with a spouse, even with a child. You might have a conversation with one of your kids where your child is just, you can do nothing right? They just begin to verbally unload on you. And there might be times where, 80, 90, maybe even 99% of what they tell you maybe it isn't truth. It's being spoken out of frustration. But there may be times where there is some real nuggets of gold that God wants to speak into your life. And so you have to be willing to sift through the feedback that you get and bring it before the Lord and say, okay, Lord, what do you have for me here? It's one of the examples that was used is you don't want to choke on the feedback that isn't right or isn't valid and miss the good stuff in there. And so, and I know there are times where, you might have a conversation with a child or a spouse or an employee where it's 100% right on. I've had those conversations where someone came into my office and said, hey, this is happening and it's not right. And I was like, wow, that you are 100% right. And here's what I'm going to do to try to address that concern.
Yeah, I was talking with one of my kids about this recently. He was in, I would call it a very small conflict with someone. And he was saying, well, they're saying this, this, and this. And I said, well, if they're 5% right, get that 5%.
Yeah.
Make yourself better. Don't make it just because they're wrong on all these other things that you don't allow yourself to improve in that one little part where they are right. Exactly.
Andy, so many things can affect our ability to receive feedback from people. And so I think both as the recipient of feedback and someone giving feedback, this is important to know that I spent a lot of my academic career studying communication. And when you study communication, it is just fraught with challenges because it's not just about what I'm saying. It's the tone of voice that I'm bringing. It's my nonverbals. It's the look on my face.
Yeah.
It's the conversation that we had yesterday or a month ago or maybe even 5 years ago and how that impacted me. It's the words I choose. Are they unnecessarily critical as opposed to constructive? All of those things can affect our ability to receive feedback. Now, as leaders and as Christ followers, we are called to have a higher level of being able to filter through those things and say, okay, I can hear that nugget of gold in that message, even if it wasn't delivered in the most constructive way. But for so many people, even past hurts from a different relationship. Like I could have had a previous job where I was mistreated and I bring that to my next job.
Right.
And so you don't know as a boss what I'm bringing or as an employee, I don't know what you're bringing to the table. So just being really open and willing to hear from the Holy Spirit on these things.
Okay. Yeah. So I know C12 is super confidential. But in a general sense, what were some of the points that were brought up in your meeting about feedback?
So I think number one was just that exactly what I was just saying of how much context impacts. And so it's important. One of the things that one of the members brought up, it's important to have a pressure valve in our relationships. So again, if I as a leader, if I only come to you once a year and say, hey, I want your feedback, it could be that I have been building up so many things
I'm going to be giving feedback through a fire hose.
Exactly. Or alternately, I'm going to explode because I have not had that ability to release some of the steam or some of the pressure. This happens very often in marriage relationships where we haven't let out steam and things have just bubbled up. And so I think being intentional and creating those opportunities on a frequent basis. And I was really personally challenged on this in my parenting journey. I can't even remember the last time I sat my kids down and said, hey, I love your feedback. How am I doing as a parent? Is there some way I could love you better? Is there some way I could support you better?
Right.
And when you do that, it's going to release that pressure so that maybe the next time there's something that I have to say that's difficult, they haven't built up all of this frustration and we can kind of deal with things in the moment. But if I don't invite that, it's typically not going to come out in a healthy way. It's going to be when my kid gets frustrated that comes out.
Yeah, it's what a huge topic, and we have to have these kind of, like you said, open conversations with each other, or else it builds up. And I love that we're talking about not only in the context of business, which is the center of what you're doing at C12, but I know this would affect relationships in a church, as you said, family, really any kind of relationship. If you're just joining us, we're with Tiffany Etterling. Tiffany, before we go into the break, tell us about C12.
C12 is a confidential peer group for Christian business owners, CEOs, and executives. And we host, I facilitate a one-day forum for each group each month where we meet together to go through MBA level curriculum, as well as digging into our businesses and really providing this kind of feedback and accountability for one another.
And that's super cool. So C12borderplex.com.
That's where you can go to find
It's
out more.
the letter C, the number 12, Borderplex.
That's right.
C12 Borderplex. Before we go into the break, we got a message through the KELP radio app for Mac Daddy Del Norte. It says Mac Daddy needs to search the Proverbs for a refresher on flattery. So folks can always message the studio through the KELP radio app. We see those while we're on air. But it is true that I'm remembering the proverb now. An enemy, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. Oh, Mac Daddy Del Norte, that's something for you to think about as we go into a break. Before we go into the break, this is your daily reminder that 915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media, and you can listen to this or any previous of our 239 episodes of 915 Talk by going to the webpage desertvoice.media. We're so grateful to each and every one of you who listen on Monday through Saturday, 4 to 5 p.m., 6 days a week. We're playing this most Mondays through Friday. It's live. On Saturdays we do a replay. Also, we're on YouTube. 915 Talk is the YouTube channel, and that's one very free and useful way you can support us. Go to 915 Talk on YouTube and subscribe. That's a big help for us. We're also on KELP Christian Radio Facebook page. The app that I just mentioned, but we're really enjoying this journey of learning to love our city, love our neighbors, give God all the glory from so many great people in our community, including Tiffany today from C12. We're going to go into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. That's right. It's people just like you who make this program possible. Together with Desert Voice, you can learn how to better serve our neighbors and pray for our community. To become a Desert Voice Media partner, you can visit desertvoice.media. That's right. That's the website, desertvoice.media. Take a look and join us today in reaching our borderland for Christ.
Have you ever wondered what it might be like to connect your Sunday faith with your Monday work? Hi, my name is Tiffany Etterling, and I'm the host of a brand new program right here on KELP called the 323 Podcast. Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, do it as unto the Lord. Through stories and conversations with business leaders and difference makers, the 323 Podcast equips listeners to honor God in the way they lead, create, and serve. Because in everything we do, our work can reflect the one we serve. Join me each and every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for the 323 podcast, right here on KELP Radio.
915.
Testify.
I want to give God all the honor, all the glory, all the praise. There was a time in my life that I was lost in drugs, using and selling, living a sinfully life for 24 years of my life. I was empty, full of hate, anger, bitterness, selfish lies, and perversion. God saved me by His grace. I'm no longer empty. I'm no longer lost. He changed my mind, my heart, and my behavior. I'm no longer slave of anything. Today I know that there's power in the name of Jesus. Today I know that there's purpose. Today I know that I'm fearfully and wonderfully created to make impact through Him, to speak truth, to serve, to give, to love, to forgive, to be kind, to have accountability, to preach by example, and to always know that the victory is His. His will be done. My name is Lev Davidovich. If God can do this for me, He can do it for you.
And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb
And by the word of their testimony.
desertvoice.media.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you are listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Freca. Today we're with Tiffany Etterling of C12, just a great group of Christian business leaders here in the borderland and around the world. She leads the El Paso and most of New Mexico for C12 Christian business leaders. And we're talking about feedback, kind of navigating what is usually difficult conversations. But Tiffany, can it be that we get so excited about giving feedback that it just becomes too much?
Yeah, it definitely can. One of my favorite authors, as I've mentioned before, is Dr. Henry Cloud. And one of the things he talks about is balancing high expectations and warmth. And so whether it's with our bosses, our spouses, and all of our relationships, we want to make sure that, yes, let's have high expectations, but let's also make sure we're bringing warmth to our relationships. And again, going back to that, making those deposits in that trust bank. I recently heard an author named Deborah Folletta on a podcast, and she was saying basically that people need affirmation and challenge to grow.
Okay.
Where there's only affirmation, and it goes back to Proverbs, just like you said, Andy, if you're only getting affirmation, you're not going to grow. If you're only getting challenged, you're going to get exhausted and burned out, and you're going to give up. And so, good feedback is a healthy blend of truth and encouragement. And I think that goes even as we are seeking out feedback as leaders. Sometimes it feels like we become the complaint department. And so, when it almost is like, I don't want to open that can of worms, because once I ask for that feedback, suddenly I'm going to start getting 1,000 things that I may or may not be able to change right now, today. Right. But it is so important to provide those opportunities for people to do that.
Right. Okay. So there's this term, I think you'll know what I'm talking about, feedback sandwich.
Oh, yes. A compliment sandwich, I call it.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So it's like you say something positive, then you give some negative feedback, then you say something positive again. What do you think about the feedback sandwich?
I personally love the feedback sandwich. And I taught this to my husband very early in our marriage. And he actually, through different parts of my career, I've had business partners and bosses and things like that. He's actually shared that with them, that she handles feedback really well if you put it in a sandwich. But, Andy, you have to know your audience, because I know some people who hate the feedback sandwich.
I don't like the feedback
Yeah,
sandwich.
because it's like, no, just get to the point. Like, you're just trying to butter me up. And so I think it really, you have to know the person you're talking to.
I love that, not making one solution for everyone. I think about this a lot when I read the Gospels, just how Jesus would talk to his disciples. Sometimes he'd be like, how long do I have to put up with you? or you of little faith? And it wasn't wrapped in a sandwich. No. But then there he is at the Last Supper, and he's like, you are the ones who have stayed with me in my trials, and I confer a kingdom upon you, knowing that they're about to betray him.
Yeah.
And he's giving only positive.
Yeah.
And I find that to be so interesting. But for you, you're a fan.
Yeah, yes, I do like the compliment sandwich. And as I've grown, I think this is an area I hope that my husband would agree with me that I have grown tremendously. When we first got married, I was a perfectionist. I had very little tolerance for messing up, and I held the bar very high for myself and for others, and it really caused a lot of challenges in our marriage. And so I believe over time I have learn to have more grace with myself and grace with others. And so I can be more calm and receive that feedback and process it through and go to the Lord and say, okay, what are you trying to speak to me through this, Lord? So I think I've gotten better about that. But ultimately, I want to know. I want the feedback.
Right.
I don't want to be walking around with toilet paper on my shoe. I don't want to be walking into a room to talk to someone with bad breath. And there are certain things that are really hard for us to know. So I think last month we might have talked a little bit about the Johari window model. Are you familiar with the Johari window?
No. Tell me about
This
it.
great model built by these two psychologists, and it basically is a grid, and it basically says that there are things that are known to you and known to others, and then things that are known to you and not others. And there's a grid there, but there is a box on that grid of things that others know that you don't. Those are your blind spots.
Yeah.
So if you don't have, you get ready in the morning, imagine if you didn't have a mirror, Andy, when you were shaving your nice beard there.
It's hard to imagine.
Combing your nicely coiffed hair. Imagine if you didn't have a mirror. Or as a woman, imagine if I didn't have two mirrors, because it actually takes two mirrors to look at the back of my hair.
Oh, wow.
And to make sure there's not something crazy going on back there.
Okay.
But if we don't have mirrors, there's this box that we can't know about ourselves.
Right.
And that goes back to the iron sharpens iron. We have to have people in our life who are willing to tell us the truth. And I think it's important to have someone who is a peer. So someone who can walk next to you and give you that feedback, someone who is maybe a mentor or a boss or someone who is above you who can give you that feedback.
Yeah.
And someone who maybe is below you who can give you that feedback. So if you're a leader, you should have feedback from 360 degrees.
Right.
So people who are willing to tell you that truth, tell you when you have a bad breath. My husband always says that if someone offers you gum or a mint, you never say no. So it's just in case they're offering it to you for a reason, right?
He's offered me mints many times.
Yeah.
So I'll have to ask him.
I mean, so yeah, that's what the Johari window is all about, and why we need people in our lives who will tell us truth, both affirm us and challenge us.
Right. And I think for those of us who are in leadership, it's kind of interesting why you wouldn't want to have feedback. Everyone's thinking something. And, there's the old fairy tale of the emperor's clothes, and everyone sees your weaknesses. And I think a lot of times in the church, we can allow leaders not to have feedback because we kind of put them on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And really what we're doing is, if we're up on that pedestal, we're setting ourselves up for failure, or those who are in leadership in the church up for failure. Because Scripture says, let's submit one to another. And so I believe Scripture does point to that 360-degree feedback from all different sides. And that doesn't mean, again, that we have to accept everything that was said or accept it as gospel truth. For sure, it's not. We're all broken in some way, but all of us have a little bit of understanding of what we see around us. So I love that so much. If you're just joining us, again, we're with Tiffany Etterling. She's with C12, and it's a group of Christian leaders, and you guys were just recently talking about feedback. Spent a whole day talking about it, which is so cool to see Christian business leaders getting together. And as you said, Proverbs 27:12?
17.
Oh, I was close.
You were very close.
Yeah, as iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
All right. We do need to take a break. We have Charlie 1 on the phone. Charlie 1, what are you seeing out on the roads this afternoon? Charlie 1.
Andy, there's a few places here that I want to cover that are causing some congestion, slow down right now. First, I want to go to the west side. This is a continuing project that they do every afternoon, but I-10 East at Artcraft. We have the left lane closed for construction, road work that's going on there. So we have the backup to Trade Center because you're in single file there, 18-wheelers there, and you're in single file. It's slow-moving traffic, bumper to bumper from all the way from Trade Center through to Artcraft. So just keep that in mind. Very slow-moving traffic there on the eastbound. Then also, once you get past that, the second incident that we have is I-10 East at Sunland Park. This is not as bad because you have more lanes open there, only the right lane taken away there, but you have more lanes available there, not a construction area at least. I-10 East at Sunland Park with that right lane taken away. Just some sluggish, little bit of slowing there and looky-loos going on there. Also, we've got crashes going on the east side, Zaragoza and Montwood, a busy intersection, have a crash here. Central, downtown, El Paso and Yandel, we have a crash. Central area, Idalia, Injustice on a wreck. And a busy area here, Gateway West at Geronimo, very busy intersection, have a crash here. So, PD are busy this afternoon. Andy, back to you.
Charlie One, in the studio this afternoon, we have Tiffany Etterling. She's the chair of C12, which is a group of Christian business leaders. They get together and learn together. And today we're talking about feedback. You know, when you're part of an organization and you need to have difficult conversations, maybe a little bit of positive or constructive criticism, I should say. And I know that one of the ways to soften the blow when you have criticism for someone is to have that discussion over a bowl of menudo. Where would you suggest that these organizations have these discussions? Where would they get their menudo?
You know, it's always better to have a discussion on the full stomach because if you're on an empty stomach, you're going to be grouchy anyway. So
yes.
Go to and then I'll tell you what, you don't have to go to a restaurant or something like that. You can have it right before you go to your meeting or anywhere that you're going to your destination. But
yes.
Pick it up at Eastside Choice Meats because they have that homemade menudo in containers, and it's just very delicious, homemade menudo, and it'll fill you up, but not. It's not like having a big steak or something like that that really bogs you down and gets you,
right.
Just very lazy and everything. Actually, the menudo kind of perks you up and makes you feel, energetic. And you can pick that up at Eastside Choice Meats. Some of that in Treatment, Andy.
Thank you, Charlie One. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
And we're back with Tiffany Etterling. We're talking about feedback in an organization, particularly, or in a family, as you mentioned several times. And I think we have a good opportunity right now to kind of workshop this.
Great.
We received another message through the KELP radio app. At the beginning of the program, you kind of mentioned that you felt the introduction was a little long. And so the question is, does Tiffany feel like the long introduction qualifies as bloviating?
Oh, wow. That is an interesting way to pose feedback. I would not use the word bloviating, Andy.
Why not?
In this context.
Well, it's
I would say it was a little long-winded.
A little
long-winded.
So how would you maybe provide this feedback?
I would say, well, because I know you don't like the compliment sandwich, Andy,
Yeah.
I would say, hey, that intro was a little bit long-winded. Could we tighten it up just a little bit next time? So
and I would say, like, why do you feel that way?
well done, Mac Daddy.
So that's all there is to it. We're done.
Yes. Well, so I've sent a message. Now it's your job to receive the message, and
Okay.
I think that's such an important component. We've talked a little bit about not choking on what's not right and filtering through for what is right. But I think it's really important to remember that our response will determine whether people continue to give us feedback.
Oh, okay. I have to think of a response that will make you think that I want to hear your criticism again, right?
Yes. Well, but I mean, if you had responded to our friend on the KELP app with a snarky response, then I think they probably wouldn't. They're not going to reach out again, right?
Yeah.
If you embarrass me on air, then I'm probably not going to come back again, right?
Oh, okay.
So we need
Don't
to make sure that we are very gracious in receiving feedback. So one of the things when I was in new chair training at C12, we went to headquarters and we did some simulations. And so just in the same way I facilitate a C12 meeting every month for my business leaders, I facilitated that meeting with members of the C12 staff and other people who were in training. And so we went through the simulation. One of the things they told us before we started was when someone gives you feedback, just say thank you for your feedback. And thank you for your feedback it's not you're 100% right. It's just thank you for your feedback. Someone has taken a brave step to give you feedback. Don't knock them down.
Right. I mean, and and again, probably it's super important how you say that.
Yes.
From the heart, not sarcastically.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking of all the ways not to say that. Thank you so much for your feedback.
The eye rolls.
Yeah.
Shoulders shrugged. Yes.
Right.
There's all kinds
I'm
of.
sorry you feel that way.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not how to do it. But again, what you're saying is if someone gives you feedback, just regardless of whether you agree with it or not, they've made a brave decision in affirming them for that.
Yeah, absolutely. She's not a Christian author, but Brene Brown has done a lot of writing about courage and entering into relationships with courage. And it takes courage to receive feedback like that and to say, thank you so much for your feedback. I'm going to take this and think about it. Can I get back to you with a response? That's the other thing. We don't have to respond in the moment.
Right.
I have a debate background, and I'm a great debater.
Sure.
But I don't have to win every conversation. And so just reminding yourself in that moment, whether you agree or disagree with the feedback, you can still thank somebody for being willing to give you that feedback.
Okay, so you think my introduction was a little bit long. What would you like it to be like?
Maybe just getting to the punchline of the point a little bit more quickly.
Okay.
It was a good story. It was a good tie-in, but maybe just a little bit quicker.
It was a little bit long.
It was a little bit longish.
Yeah. It wasn't entertaining.
It was entertaining, but to me, I just think some other people might have thought it was a little. You don't want it's radio, Andy. You don't want people to tune out.
No, I do not. I expect everyone to super glue their dials on 1590 AM and 95.9 FM.
Yeah.
I don't want them changing.
Yeah.
So, but I think it is also important to, you gave me the feedback to ask, well, paint me a picture of what you want it to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great response for help me understand. And that can make people feel heard, feel validated. I think also part of your response is being honest. So if I come to my boss and say, I don't know, my computer is really slow. It's impacting my ability to do my job. I just don't know that I can't, I can't hit the numbers. As a boss, I may not be able to solve that problem today, but I can respond and say, hey, let me look into some solutions. Or next month, as part of our budget next month is to replace your computer, of just to be transparent and honest. Or in some cases, you as a leader may not be able to solve a problem. You may not have a solution.
Right.
So Andy, you might come to me and say, that is my style. That is the only way I know how to do an intro. I'm not sure I can get better. I need to go think on that.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy doing the intro. I think that the main thing is I have to have the desire to have a shorter intro.
That's true.
And so maybe if more people send me feedback on that, I'll be more motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. If you're just joining us, we're with Tiffany Etterling. I do believe this is a super important discussion for churches, businesses, all kinds of organizations, for families. We need to be able to have these difficult conversations with each other so that we can all be pulling in one direction, so that nothing is getting pinned up to the point of exploding, as we talked about before. We do need to take a break. Before we go into the break, this is the part of the program where KELP Radio thanks all of its impact partners. The impact partners are local businesses, churches, nonprofits, educational institutions. And today I'm going to point out two impact partners. First of all, C12. Tiffany, we're talking mainly about, I'm going to call it the main C12 group, but you also have key players?
Yes. So it's the key player group is executives. So you might be, a chief marketing officer, a chief financial officer, a vice president, a general manager, someone else in your organization who you want aligned as you're learning and going back to your business and implementing the things that we're learning. You want this person walking with you to implement them with you. So we also have some members of that group who are leading smaller organizations who maybe it just might not make sense for them to be part of the main group. So we're we serve a very diverse group of leaders between our two groups.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, the Key Player Group also has a lot of leaders of nonprofits.
We have nonprofits represented in both groups, but yes, we do have leaders in both groups that are part of nonprofit organizations.
Okay, super cool. And if I'm a business owner and I have a top manager I want to send to the Key Player Group, do I myself have to be a part of C12?
Typically, that would be the ideal scenario. It's not required, but it is helpful for your key player when your key player is learning these things, when you've got an executive who's coming on a monthly basis, investing, and wants to go implement those things. It's best if you're on the same page, but it's not required. So I think it's a great experience, and someone will grow and benefit tremendously regardless. But it's, when you're pulling in the same direction, you're going to move faster and further.
Okay. Again, it's C12borderplex.com, the letter C, the number 12, borderplex.com. And, of course, the 323 podcast.
Yeah, don't want to forget that.
Yeah, just give us your elevator pitch on that.
I gather with leaders from our community to talk about faith, business, leadership, and the integration of those three things.
Okay. Yeah, and it's on KELP Radio at 10 a.m. on Saturdays. And I was at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention last week, and I was talking to a national, really big program about the 10:30 time slot. And they always ask, well, what's before and what's after? And I said, before we have the 323 podcast, it's local. And they always get nervous about local. And I said, and it's really, really good.
Aw, well, that's great feedback. Thank you, Andy.
No, genuinely, I do hope people are listening. And if you are, you reach out to it's 323podcast.com.
Yeah, 323podcast.com.
Yeah. All right. And then I do have to do one more impact partner. It's Calvary Chapel, Sun City. Such great friends of this radio station. The Summons radio program plays each and every weekday after 915 Talk. I do hope that you stick around and listen for that. Do not touch your dial, as we say. But I do want to say that Terry Gray, the pastor, such a good friend of this ministry, will not be preaching at Calvary Chapel, Sun City this Sunday. I will be preaching. So if folks want to come out and listen, go to your church, but Calvary Chapel Sun City has a 9 a.m. and an 11 a.m. service, so you can make both. You can go to two church services. I'll be preaching twice. Their website is ccsuncity.org. They're located at 960 West Borderland, way over on the west side. Such a great church, and we're so grateful to them for joining us also here in this journey to serve the city through radio ministry. We're going to into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Greetings, KELP listeners. This is Terry Gray, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, and speaker on the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. Calvary Chapel, Sun City is located at 960 West Borderland Road on the west side of El Paso. We hold services on Wednesday evenings at 7 and on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. If you are without a church home, we would love to have you join us for worship and Bible study. You can find out more information about us on the web at www.ccsuncity.org.
This is Pastor Steve Castrita. I'd like to extend the invitation for you to join us in service every Saturday at 5 p.m. at Redeeming Grace Church, El Paso. We are located at 2400 George Dieter inside Iglesia Philadelphia. We're a young church on the east side of El Paso with no smoke, no lasers, and no gimmicks, just the uncompromising Word of God and a call to win the 915 for Jesus Christ. We'd love to meet you and your family. God bless you, and thank you for listening to KELP.
Greetings, KELP listeners. My name is Terry Gray, and I have the joy and privilege of serving as the pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, located on the west side of El Paso. I also have the joy of connecting with the radio audience in the borderland through the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. On Summons, we study the Bible book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, precept by precept. Please join us each weekday at 5 p.m. for Summons right here on KELP.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you are listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we're with Tiffany Etterling of C12 Borderplex, talking about, particularly for those of us who are leaders, welcoming feedback into our lives. I found it so interesting, Tiffany, being in radio. I had, in a previous life, I had a YouTube channel, and it did pretty well. And as soon as you put out a video, I would get all kinds of feedback. A lot of it was extremely negative. And I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Just because it was like, oh, now I know what people are thinking. And now I can either receive it or not receive it, maybe improve some things, maybe have a good laugh. But it's interesting being in radio because the audience normally gives so little feedback. It's unusual for someone to call the radio station unless they're just really upset about something.
Yeah.
Most folks aren't calling in just to say thank you for everything. It's usually they're just really upset if they make the effort to call. Except for it's really good people. When we see them in real life, they're always grateful.
Yeah.
But people aren't making the effort.
Right.
And so we're always asking people, send feedback.
Yeah.
We really want it, positive, negative, whatever the case would be. I really, I'm airing some grievances here, Tiffany.
Please do.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we have this therapy session here.
Well, it's frustrating if I, as the station manager, cut something out of the programming and then find out everyone really loved it.
Right.
If I don't know that you love it, then I can only do my best. I, of course, a lot of prayer. We talk to a lot of church leaders before making any of those kind of decisions. But it is interesting to be a little bit in a situation where we don't get as much feedback as we want.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier again about this idea of iron sharpens iron. That's in Proverbs. And I guess God puts some people in our lives just naturally who can provide that feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do, before we move on to that point, I do want to remind you, Andy, that an open invitation is no invitation at all. And so one of the things you have a really uniquely challenging situation is how do you create those moments? And I think the app, the KELP app, so if listeners haven't downloaded the KELP app, even if you listen on the radio, you're in your car, you've got it. My grandmother used to always have KELP playing in the background in her house. I can still picture the boombox that it would play on.
Yeah.
And but download the app and give, go in
Sure.
and give some of that feedback, like great show today, or hey, I really preferred this guest over this guest, or again, with the goal of both affirming and challenging Andy and Mac Daddy Del Norte and the rest of the staff to do better, to press on, to win the race. And you need that feedback. And so creating those opportunities, we have to create those opportunities for people to provide feedback. So I love that you have the KELP app where people can do that now.
Yeah, so the app, also the contact form at kelpradio.com. Also, honestly, just call the station, 915-779-0016. We love getting those calls.
Yeah.
And just chatting with folks and hearing what you're listening to, what you're enjoying.
Yeah.
Hearing about how my introductions on 915 Talk are a little bit long.
Or bloviating. Somebody else said it, not me. Somebody else.
Well, that same person wrote back and said that I couldn't drive them off with a snarky response. That's a great listener right there.
I wonder if you're related to that listener.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Only in the Lord.
So yeah, I think that we also, going back to Proverbs, we need to make sure that we're seeking out those people in our life. And so, Andy, who do you have in your life who you know is someone who sharpens you and you can go to for that kind of truth?
For sure, Rachel, my wife. That's a good one. I do think here at the station, the staff generally will tell me if they don't like something,
Yeah.
or if they see room for improvement. It is interesting because most of the listeners know I lived overseas, and 4 years ago I moved to El Paso. I had so many people in my life there, and now I'm in a new environment, and so it does require me to make that effort, as you're saying, to find new folks.
You have to rebuild those relationships
Sure.
and have them. So I think it's so important to have people who you trust and who are safe, but who aren't
Right.
just yes men, right?
Yeah.
People who are just going to say, oh no, we every once in a while we need that friend who's just got our back, and I
Right.
can't believe they said that to you.
Sure.
But we also need people who can speak truth, and I think the body of Christ, the church, is a great place to find that. So I know so many churches have amazing small groups, life groups, whatever name they put on them, but those should be a safe place where we can build relationships and speak truth to one another. Our friendships. So your wife, I've known her since I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
And she's someone who throughout my life, we've had some major iron sharpens iron. And please do not have her come in and tell some of the stories. I was not a very gracious friend at certain seasons.
Well, you held her accountable on more than one occasion.
I did. I did. But thankfully, she loved me through it. Even in those moments where I provided feedback in a very poor manner, she still loved me. And now she, we're as close as sisters. And so I have a couple of women around me, and that's been true when we were on different sides of the globe from each other. And now we're back in the same city. We have maintained that same relationship.
Right.
So I think you need to find them in your personal life, and it can't just be your spouse. You need to have other
Sure.
people. It can't just be your parent. One of the dynamics of parenting is the older your kids get, the more they need to hear it from somebody else.
Right.
Your teenager, God designed them to stop hearing from you as a parent. They hit a certain age.
Wait, what?
Yeah, shocking, right? Where God designed, because we need them to leave our homes. We need them to go and thrive. But they can only do that if they learn to get that feedback from other people. So I'm just so grateful. My kids have been very involved in the youth group at the Church of St. Clement, and they're part of King's Kids, and they're in these groups where they've got peers and leaders that aren't their parents that can speak to them. So you have to foster these relationships, and you have to make it easy for people to provide feedback to you.
Yeah. I love all those things. It is so funny to talk about teenagers. I've had 4. I have 2 still out of the 4. But yeah, just really encouraging your teenagers to build relationships outside of the home is so key, because as you said, that's a little bit sad, but they were really designed to get feedback from all kinds of people, not just their parents.
Well, and I think if you do that, handle that transition well. I have a friend was just talking to me about this and had a great book she recommended on parenting adult children. And I think if you navigate that transition well, which I think you and your wife have. I see your 2 oldest children, and I see them coming back to you for advice. And I think if you navigate that season well, it will come back. Your kids will come back around to you. Again, knowing that they may not hear the feedback in that moment, but if I'm gracious, I'm kind, I just continue to love them, they'll come back around.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so we're seeking out people. I think just being part of a church. You're saying again. I think it's important to recap some of these things. But in the workplace, don't just say I have an open door policy, but give specific, almost instructions on how to provide the feedback. Because an open invitation is no invitation.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I would even recommend having set meetings for anyone who reports to you. You have a set time where the purpose of that meeting is for that employee to provide you feedback. So as a leader of many organizations, I practice giving feedback well to my employees. And that was both affirmative and challenging feedback. But I also, as I think back, I could have done a better job of those moments before I gave my employee feedback, saying, what feedback, and having a list of questions that you go through. What can I start doing? What do I need to stop doing? What can I continue doing? What are those things that I can do to be a better leader for you?
Right. And in C12, it is a peer group. And, we talked about getting feedback from someone who's in leadership over us, those that we lead, quote unquote, under us, but it's also important to get feedback from peers. How does feedback look in a C12 meeting?
So oftentimes it's just a word of challenge. So maybe somebody has set a goal that's too vague, that isn't a SMART goal. And we can say, hey, can we pause and talk about that goal that you set? It doesn't sound like, that's a great way to phrase that goal. It also oftentimes is us coming for feedback. So our entire afternoon in a C12 meeting is spent asking for feedback from the group, saying, I've got this problem. What counsel do you have for me? So we provide very intentional opportunities in a C12 meeting where people can provide feedback to their peers.
Yeah, that's so cool. I had the opportunity to sit in one of those sessions, and just everyone was there really excited to share ideas with someone. I mean, it felt like that person was in a situation where they needed more input, even more creativity ideas, and to be in a room where people care about you and want to share is such a huge privilege.
Yeah, but we have had moments in that same vein where we've had to really challenge someone and say, hey, we see a problem over here. You might have a blind spot in this area of your business, and we're concerned about you. We love you. We feel like you're heading towards a cliff. What are you going to do about that? So there's both. There's some great conversations where feedback is positive and affirmative, and some of it is challenging and really, a little bit more on the challenging side for our peers.
Like, Andy, your intros on 915 Talk are a little bit long.
I feel like you're going to be bringing this up for like the next decade.
No, I wouldn't do something like that, Tiffany. If you just joined us at the end of this discussion, we've been with Tiffany Etterling. She's with C12 Borderplex. It's a peer group of Christian business leaders here in El Paso, Las Cruces, other places in New Mexico. She chairs those forums. What a great service to our community. And I believe this conversation is important for anyone, particularly in leadership, whether it be church or most of us are in leadership in our families who are listening in whatever business or organization we might be a part of. So if you missed the first part of this conversation, be sure to check it out on podcast starting tomorrow. And again, for C12, it's C12, the letter C, the number 12, borderplex.com.
That's right.
And also be sure to tune in for the 323 podcast each and every Saturday at 10 a.m. on this radio station.
That's right.
Yeah, Tiffany, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me again, Andy.
Yeah, as we always say, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbors. Let's learn to love feedback and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. To listen to this or any previous edition of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media and click on the 915 Talk link. Let's continue to learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.
Hi, I'm Johnny Erickson Tada. My husband Ken loves to present me with spur-of-the-moment little surprises that he calls omiyagis. In Japanese, that means a little gift you are not required to give as for a special occasion. That's the way our Heavenly Father is with us.